Welcome to episode 42 of the Mindset and Muscle podcast. I nearly said Free Your Mind podcast then, because that's so habitual for me. Same thing, same podcast pretty much. Still me talking. Anyway, so today there's a quote that went out in an email. If you read that, then you'll know what this is. But opinions are like farts. Just because you have one doesn't mean that you need to let it out. The reason I share this is because I posted a somewhat, well, I thought it was fucking hilarious, to be honest, story. Essentially, I walked into the petrol garage, and anyone that knows me knows that I seem to somehow attract conversation. I think, I talk to people, I ask how they are, I get to know them over time, right? Even if it's a short 3-minute conversation with someone in a petrol garage. If you do that over a 2-year period, you get to know someone, right? They say, oh yeah, I've just started jiu-jitsu. Oh, that's cool. And then the next time you come back, how's jiu-jitsu? Oh, it's going really well, mate. Yeah. And then the next time you come back, you get what I mean? It kind of builds, right? So I end up knowing people from the gym, from Sainsbury's. There's some funny stories about Sainsbury's workers because I end up knowing their names, and they know me. They know, like, they start like slicing my bread when they see me because they know what bread I want, and it's quite cute, right? But you get to know people and their lives, and there's people that ask me, oh, how's this going or how's that going, and you just build relationships with people. But anyway, this guy, he's like, I hadn't seen him for a while, and he's like, God, you're looking fresh, you're looking good, man, you're looking ripped. He's like, there's something different about you. He's like gesturing like I'm stood up tall, and he's like, there's something different about you. And I'm like, yeah, it's called getting divorced and being single, mate. And with that, he then tells me essentially that he also is going through that, married for 12 years and going through divorce, and how much better he's feeling. And anyway, this made it to my story, which most people found hilarious, obviously. Especially because a lot of people in my world relate. They've come out of really shit relationships and they look back and wonder why they tolerated it for so long, why they put up with it for so long, why they allowed themselves to be unhappy for so long. Some people are going through breakups and they know one guy is like, he knows it's going to get better. He's just struggling at the moment. So everything I share, a lot of my humor comes across, and but there's always a positive intent behind it. One person, really there wasn't much criticism of it. I'm sure there was silent criticism because I got some unfollows, but one person told me it wasn't in keeping with my normal, positivity and blah, blah, blah. I don't know if she was triggered by it or whether she missed it. I'm not really sure. And then also some snake kind of fed it back to my ex-wife as well. And she obviously took offence because it takes everything personally. And this, tries criticising me for it. And it's like, fucking hell. But then the good thing is I then use that as an opportunity to explain what it meant, right? I'm not glorifying being single, and I'm not villainising being married. I was a massive advocate for marriage. I worked on my marriage for years. If she'd worked on it, we wouldn't have been in this situation. But for me, it's actually about when you are feeling so happy that you're radiating joy in a way that people notice, that's something to fucking celebrate, right? That's awesome. I love that. What I'm an advocate for is not people pleasing, not sacrificing yourself, not staying in shit situations you're not happy in. Valuing yourself enough to wake up and go, do you know what? I don't want my life to be like this anymore. This is not what I want in my business or my job or my relationship. Even when you're dating, it's the same thing, right? I have no tolerance. I've just got no tolerance. If you're bringing me stress and bullshit, I don't want it. See ya. Like, I'm not going to fuck about. And I think it's recognising who you are and what you're worth and what you want and what you value and what you don't. And having the balls to look yourself in the mirror and say, right, can I be better? Yes or no? Is this a me issue? Yes or no? Can I take responsibility here? Yes or no? Ideally, the answer to all of those things are yes, right? And then once you get clear on who you are and what you are and your triggers and your shadows and everything that's holding you back, and you can work on that and you can focus on that, but you still get to then decide, am I okay with this? What am I tolerating? Do I want more here? Do you know how many mums I speak to that feel guilty for breaking up their marriage? Because a lot of people, I respect it. They actually didn't stay in it for... I stayed in it about 10 years longer than I should have done. Although I wasn't fully consciously aware of it, to be honest, because I'm a hopeless optimistic. I always was trying to make it better and better and better. And you've only got to listen to these podcasts to hear that. I was always trying to be better. Always. And I believed I could eventually be good enough. And I believed that the relationship I could eventually save. And to be honest, it did improve. And there were times of, in terms of the actual parenting aspect and the family aspect, great. But ultimately, eventually, it then wasn't what I wanted anymore. And I realised looking back, actually, it wasn't for a very long time. And I don't think it ever was going to be. So I respect people. And these women that feel guilty because they broke up the family, they've normally decided they're not happy and they'd rather be on their own. And they don't want their kids thinking that this is what love is. Anyway, moving on from that, because this extends way beyond relationships. Everyone will give you their fucking opinion. Everyone. And it's always from people that are unqualified, and it's unsolicited. I didn't ask for your opinion. And it always comes from people that you don't necessarily respect. Like, you know, the people, my ex criticising me, for example, it's the last person I'd be taking criticism from. The person that doesn't run a business, that then gives you their opinion on how you should run your business. How the fuck do you know? Right? People say, oh, I don't really feel like you should be doing this because of... How do you know? Do you fucking know me? You haven't asked me enough questions to understand my intent. You don't know me well enough to know why I'm fucking doing it. And also, I didn't ask for your opinion. Like, my daughter's a bit sassy. She's 9 and she's... Max said something the other day and she said, what did she say? Don't care, didn't ask. I am going to steal that. Next time, I am stealing that. Anyone that gives me their opinion, don't care, didn't ask. Done. I fucking love it. I just love it. I mean, I know you need to kind of, you know, moderate, you know, these. Well, she's not a teen yet, but I kind of admire it. Fair enough. Like, obviously, don't be rude, but yeah, it's like everyone will have an opinion. And you'll find that even if you think you don't care, you do care. It's wired into us to care. We will always care about people's opinions because that is how we are built. Because at various stages of evolution, we needed people to survive. If we don't have the approval of our wife or husband or boyfriend, girlfriend, we can't procreate, right? If we can't procreate, we die as a species. The species, therefore, has a vested interest in surviving and caring. Right, so we needed tribes. We increase our chance of survival in tribes. We're looking for that belonging and that togetherness. We do care, and if you say you don't care, you're bullshitting yourself, because you do. Because we all do. There's no, unless you're a psychopath or a sociopath, in which case, I mean, I don't really know what to say about that. But you will care, and that's okay. But the degree to which you care will be based on how well you know yourself, how certain you are of yourself, your own values, your own beliefs, your own thoughts, and how much you feel in alignment with your own authentic self. So there'll be certain areas where you feel very, very solid. No one could offend me or criticise me when it comes to the gym because I'm so certain in how I feel about that, for example. Or when it comes to parenting, for example. However, an area of my weakness actually has always been my work. Like, for some reason, I've always been a little bit shaky, no matter how much money I've made or how many clients I've had or how many referrals I've had or how many podcast reviews and thank you letters. And for some reason, for me personally, that's still an area I've had to work on. I seem to wrap a lot of my self-worth up in how valuable I am as a human, how much I can help people, how much money I make, especially as a man, how much you provide. You know, we do tend to wrap our self-worth up in money and the material possessions and providing for our partner or kids or whatever. And obviously some women as well, many women these days really. But their self-worth might be wrapped up in other things, whether or not they think they're failing because there's... You know, it's stereotypical now, but I've had these conversations because the house isn't tidy or the washing's not done, and they've taken that on board as their role as a female of the house, or I'm not saying they're right or wrong. I'm just saying that's what I've seen. We will wrap ourselves up in, and we will therefore be more hurt by criticism in areas that we don't, that we feel weaker, right? So if you're struggling financially, you might find you're more triggered by people making comments around you financially, or if it's around your body weight or body shape, then you'll probably be more, and you'll find that. But anyway, the point is, if you do anything, especially like business and stuff, especially if it's online or anything on social media, you will get criticism. If you're going to go and stand for something, right, look at every celebrity. They have a ton of hate from people that don't even know them. I saw a video the other day of like a woman, it was an Olympic, I don't know who it was an Olympic athlete coming off her bike. And in the comments, everyone's saying, oh, it's because she worked too much on this and she didn't work on that and this is why she fell off. How the fuck do you know? Are you an Olympic athlete? What the fuck? How do you know what she's worked on? How do you know what's happened? You go get on that bike and reach the level of success that she's reached and then come back with your bullshit and see if fucking your crap opinion is worth anything. Like, everyone has an opinion constantly, and the more you put yourself out into the world, the more you're going to face criticism. The more followers you've got, the more criticism. The more your videos go viral, the more criticism. The more your podcast gets listens or your emails go out, the more criticism. The more you stand out, you know, if you go buy a nice car, criticism. You go on holiday too much, criticism. Like, it's just, people always have an opinion. They love drama. They want to give their opinion. That's just a matter of fact, really. And I guess my point here is, there's a number of points here, strewn throughout, throughout the whole thing. I try to live by the motto. There's a few mottos I try to live by. Nothing to prove, nothing to hide has always been one that you would have heard me say a million times for years. So I look to myself, is this trying to prove something to someone? Or am I trying to hide something? Because if the answer's no, then it's just me. It's just me being me. And like it or don't like it, it's my own self-expression. My words are my art. This is my work. The conversations I have, the videos I make, everything for me is my art. These words are my art. I'm just talking and I'm flowing and I'm enjoying and I'm talking about the things that make me feel passionate in the way that it makes sense to. You know, this is my equivalent of painting a painting. This is my equivalent of constructing a deal. This is my equivalent of kicking a football in the top corner of the net. You know, whatever everyone's work is, this is my art. And as long as it's authentic and flowing through me, I'm happy with that. And I do question it from time to time. I do have to kind of check in with myself and am I trying to prove something? Am I trying to hide something? You know, am I looking for validation? You don't have to overthink it. It's just a check-in. So that's one of the mottos, essentially, is nothing to prove, nothing to hide. That always seems to point me back to my own authenticity. Like, I like nice cars. Is this for me or is this for someone else? Is this so that I get external validation? Is this so then women are more impressed by me? Or is this because I love driving and I enjoy driving on my own and music on and podcasts, and I sometimes I'll find an excuse to drive to the shop because I just like driving. So it's like, okay, cool. Well, do I enjoy driving nice cars? Yes, I do. You know, or they don't even have to be nice cars. They're just cars that are fun to drive. Like, if you like driving, you'll get what I mean. Big estates are not fun to drive unless you go for something, you know, like an M5 or something, or like big. I had a Kia Sportage. Oh, boring. You know, a Nissan Qashqai. Oh. I mean, even Range Rover, I've driven a Range. I haven't owned one, but I found that boring as well. Whereas, you know, you can get in an Audi TT or, whatever, a Civic, my Jag. That was fun to drive, etc. I'm rambling, but you get the point, right? Cars were for me, regardless of what other people think. Some people don't even, they say, what car does James drive? Oh, a grey one. Because people's opinions are variable anyway. If I drove a Ferrari, some of you would think, oh, this guy's a twat. This guy's egotistical. Oh, this guy's materialistic. Some of you might think, oh, wow, I'm so inspired. Some of you might be like, what's the point? Some of you might be like, well, that's going to ruin the planet. Some of you might be like, well, you should have bought a Tesla. Who gives a shit? Everyone's going to have an opinion, which is why it matters that we look to ourselves. and our own values and our own beliefs and our own wants and desires, and explore that for yourself. Is this coming from insecurity? Is this coming from trying to prove to myself? Is this coming from chasing? Is this coming from hiding? Because you will have unconscious drivers driving all of your success and your actions and your choices. So sometimes it's hard to know, but you'll figure it out. You're here listening, so you'll figure it out, same as I will. I haven't made it yet. Ask me in 5 years from now, and I might be like, actually, do you know what? I got that a little bit wrong. Fine. The other motto I try and live by is I care about the opinions of people I care about. So if my best friend Naylor comes to me and says, James, that was a bit twatty. Why did you post it? What was your intention? How do you feel now? What was you hoping to achieve? They're good questions. I might consider that. If my kids, I have to be mindful of that as well. Obviously, only one of them's on social. But if they were to come to me and say, and they would, that seemed a bit twatty, or I didn't like the way that made me feel, or why did you say that? Or, let's say it was their mum that I was talking about, do you know what I mean, kind of thing, then I'd have to consider that, right? Because I care about them. And that would be a conversation. Look, I didn't mean it that way, I meant it this way, how do you feel? And it would be a conversation, but I would care about that opinion, because I care about the opinion of pretty much my one close friend. I care about the opinion generally of the person I'm seeing or dating. And I care about the opinion of my kids. And to be honest, at times I cared about the opinion of my clients, because they were the ones I was helping. They were the ones who were paying me money. They were the ones that, whilst I was helping them to have a happier life, be less stressed, buy new businesses, grow businesses, make better decisions, get through divorce, whatever it was, get clarity in their life. Whilst I was helping them, they were helping me by funding my lifestyle. And I appreciate that. And I always will appreciate that. I appreciate, you guys listening, because it gives me a job that I love doing. So I would care about their opinion. If they said, James, you're coming across a bit of a twat on social, I'd probably take that into consideration, because they know me well enough to say that. They know my intentions. They've experienced my work. They know why I do this. They've felt the impact I've had on their lives, or their wives' lives, or their kids' lives, or their friends' lives, because generally they'll refer me or sign me up, or they've had me working in their business. So I would respect their opinion, because I'd say, you know what? I respect you. And I think you know me well enough to know if I'm a little bit off track. And actually, so I would take that into consideration. Not always, depends on the client, but I would potentially consider that. That would definitely be a more qualified opinion than some random person on Instagram who I've never met and they've never paid me a penny. And if I never spoke to them ever again, it wouldn't really matter. And it certainly matters more than the opinion of my ex-wife, who I'm not gonna say bad things about. I don't think there's any relevance to doing that, but I just don't respect her opinion, to be honest, especially not when it comes to me and my life and my work. I just don't. So I'm not gonna do that. But I will take the time to consider, actually, was that the right thing to say or not? And if I arrive at the conclusion that, it was the right thing to say, well, then I'm good with that. I can still check in with myself. But anyway, how this relates to you, you'll know that for yourself, right? Because you can see, I had a conversation with someone yesterday who wants to take his business, he basically wants to start a new business, but he's afraid of how that's going to look. And he's afraid of people thinking he isn't successful enough to do it, and he hasn't done enough to do it, and who is he to do this? And essentially what's holding him back is his thoughts around what he thinks everyone else is going to say. That's a problem. If you're holding yourself back because of your fear of judgment, that's probably going to be a problem for you. You've then got a choice to shrink and stay small, or to work through that, right? We need to get to the bottom of that. And we worked out there was some kind of deeper thoughts of I'm not good enough, which shows up for a lot of people, by the way. Shows up differently in men and women, I've noticed, but it shows up a lot. I think a lot of us are running the I am not good enough script. And therefore I'll be good enough when I've got this much money. I'll be good enough when my wife eventually tells me she actually appreciates me and loves me. I'll be good enough when I've got this many followers. I'll be good enough when I've got this much in the bank. I'll be good enough when my kids say X, Y, and Z. I'll be good enough when my parents finally tell me they're proud of me. A lot of that chasing can come from that feeling of internal not good enoughness. And the problem is you'll never feel it really externally, because it's an internal problem. You can't really feel an internal problem with an external solution, unfortunately. Hence why I do this job, right? Because I've learned a lot of the shit the hard way. Anyway, so the questions really are really for you yourself to reflect on. Where are you fearing people's opinions and judgments? Are you fearing the opinions and judgments of people you even care about, that are even relevant? Do you take criticism from people you wouldn't take advice from? And if you didn't care about the opinions of others, would you do anything different? Would you make a different decision right now? Would you make a different choice? If you're a bit of a people pleaser, this is going to be a little bit harder for you as well. Welcome to the club, the people pleasing club, where we learnt to essentially take care of everyone else so that we could eventually be loved or feel happy. So these are the questions to reflect on. If you have any questions, if you're on Spotify, you can actually leave comments and stuff below. If not, I'm on Insta. Drop me a DM. I love a conversation, as you know. Or I don't know where you would be. You could be on Amazon. You could be on Apple. You could be on Spotify. Wherever you are, please leave me a review or a star rating or something, because that's always cool. It helps other people to see this and helps other people to, as humans, we do tend to... Perception is a big thing, right? You look at a podcast, it's got 4,000 stars, you then assume it's good, right? So by you actually leaving reviews helps other people to hear this as well, or share it with other people. I appreciate that. If you want to reach out, you can email me if you're on my email list, or you can drop me a DM on Insta. I'm happy to chat about this stuff. Any questions, any thoughts? I love exploring these kind of questions with people. And obviously, if you want to take this further, then you can also do that. I do have slots for one-to-one available again. I think most of you know for years I was full. So there was just never slots. I've got a couple at the moment, which is quite nice, to be fair. If you want to work with me, there'll be a link in the show notes anyway. So click that or reach me somehow. I generally like to speak to people first via WhatsApp and stuff, just to make sure we're a good fit and I can help you. It's more about for a good fit, really, because it's not just about the coach or therapist or whatever that you have. It's about whether you feel kind of understood and seen by them, and also enjoying the conversation. And I think when there's a synergy between the two of you, you just get better results, essentially. Anyway, that's me done for now. I appreciate you listening, and I will speak to you soon.